What's going on, guys? This is our first live stream here on YouTube. Let us know in the comments if anything seems wrong. Hopefully we won't get booted off like we were on Facebook there when COVID started with a lot of people streaming from their house. But if you are stoked about this, just go share it on your Instagram story, share it on your Facebook page, text it out to your friends. We're going to do a bunch of raffling here. We've got some cool stuff to give away. And we're just going to have a great hangout conversation on this Tuesday night. It's finally warming up a little bit here in North Carolina. It's been so stinking cold. Let me turn my thing down. I'm watching it here. It's been so dang cold here in North Carolina, really all over the East Coast and all the way down into Texas. It's nice to have a warm day. But yeah, what's up, guys? Thanks for doing the live stream. We got Cameron. I don't know how you are seeing it, but top left, me top right, Michael bottom left, and Jeff bottom right. So what's going on, fellas?
Oh, not much. Good to be here.
Heck yeah. I haven't done a live stream in quite a while, so I'm like a little nervous, a little shaky here. I got my water in case I get parched. But yeah, so I'm gonna go before we get too far into this and kind of go through our pre-show stuff that we usually do in the podcast. Y'all might be listening to this as a podcast later on, and thank y'all for doing that. But hopefully, if you're into it, you're tuned into the live stream here. But we want to first off thank the people that decided to sponsor this live stream. We've got let's see here. Ice Strike, they're doing a big package that we're gonna raffle off. We've got Pin Fishing. I've got a Pin Clash 2. I've got let's see here, Pin Battle 3. These are actually super sweet reels. I don't have any yet, but I'm definitely gonna be picking some up. We've got Marshwear. They're doing what's called a Big Bay Fleece. It's this really cool camo fleece that you can win. And then we're doing a real sweet AFCO fillet knife and some fluorocarbon from AFCO. So the way that you can enter to win these items that we're giving away, and each one of those is going to be separate. So Ice Strike Bundle, it's like a $250 package of stuff that you can win. I think it's 3 or 4 of every single jig that they make in a t-shirt. The Pin is going to be 2 separate reels, so you might win the Clash 2, you might win the Pin Battle 3. And then Marshwear is that single sweater, and then AFCO is the Flora with the fillet knives. And what we've got here on YouTube is you can actually super chat. And so super chat, you can super chat $1 or however much you want. So every $1 that you super chat will enter you that many times. So $1 is 1 entry. In a raffle, Cameron's gonna be laying them all out on a Google Sheet spreadsheet the whole time. We'll randomize it, and then we'll pick some random numbers at the end. And whoever his number is picked, they'll win those items as a giveaway. And you can reach out to us on Instagram. Or reach out to myself, Jud Brock Fishing on Instagram, and I'll get that stuff shipped out to you. I have some of it here, but the Ice Strike and the AFCO stuff and the Marshwear stuff is all with them, so they're going to ship it out directly to you. But I think that's it. One other thing, definitely check out our Facebook group, Eastern Current Fishing. Great way to connect with other listeners. I said that on all the podcasts. And you can go check this out on, like, if you can't listen to it all tonight, want to go listen to the rest, you can go check out the podcast platforms or on YouTube. This will be saved on YouTube afterwards. So also let us know in the comments if you're stoked on these live streams. We're getting older. I've got a baby asleep in the room next to me. Michael has a baby that we're excited to announce here in just a second. I guess I just spoiled it. So live streams are a little bit harder to do, but we're going to try to do some more of them because it's a great way to interact with people here live, and we can answer y'all's questions. But if you do like the live streams and you want to see more of them, let us know in the comments below. If y'all have any questions y'all want us to discuss, let us know in the comments section, and we will definitely get those answered. So, Michael, why don't you tell everybody about your new addition to the family?
Yeah, Scarlett Finley, she was born a little over a week ago last Saturday. So awesome to have her here. As y'all probably have noticed, I haven't been on a lot of the podcasts here lately. So working, pregnant wife, getting ready for a baby. It's been kind of a whirlwind here lately, but it's been good.
Heck yeah. So you been getting some sleep?
Working on it.
Working on it? I hear you.
Yeah, last night was a good night. So hopefully we're going in the right direction.
Right on. It's so exciting, man. It's crazy. We're all getting old. I feel like just the other day we were all little kids running around in college. The first time I ever met Jeff was me and Michael lived together, and Jeff rode his bike by our house, and me and Michael were throwing fly rods in the backyard, and he rolled in. He's like, "Do y'all fly fish?" We're like, "Yeah, we like to fly fish." And ever since then, we've been hanging out and fishing together. Jeff, you're not even in Wilmington right now. Where the heck are you?
I am in Harwood, Maryland. I just got back from a trip doing some work up here and visiting my brother. So
Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm up here in Maryland.
You went to a little skiing, didn't you?
Yeah, I was in Salt Lake City, Utah. Did about 4 days of skiing. Got some good snow and met up with some buddies out there and skied two different mountains and had a great old time. Did some backcountry skiing and found some powder, so it was a good old time.
Heck yeah, dude. I was jealous. I meant to text you actually, but Scout and his whole family are out there right now in Park City.
Oh, nice.
The whole crew's out there. We were invited, but with the baby, it was just a little hard to get out there and go do that. But
Yeah.
Cameron, what are you up to? You look like you're somewhere interesting.
Oh, I'm at home. Really interesting.
I hear ya.
Trying to keep up with a couple of these super chats that are coming through, which is awesome.
Yeah, guys, thank y'all so much. We are also, I wanted to say too real quick, I guess I misled a little bit by accident. So people were saying, hey, it's supposed to be a giveaway. So I've got a bunch of Z-Man stuff. I'm going to do a giveaway to somebody at the end of the night too of a bunch of Z-Man soft plastic. So just by commenting, you might win a couple packs of Z-Mans, but the super chats are going to need y'all to win all this other stuff. So just to clear that up. But keep going, Cameron. I totally interrupted you.
Oh, no, you're good. I haven't been up to too much. Been fishing quite a bit when I can, and obviously it's been really cold, like you said, so it's been a little tough for sure.
Yeah.
As fly fishing is concerned, which I definitely like to do a lot more of. I feel like at this time of year, just because the water's so clear. But yeah, trying to find the right fly. Coming out of fall, really not fly fishing that much, so having to get your cast back down and stuff like that can be frustrating for sure. But it's always a fun experience and always feels like something fresh. So
Heck yeah.
It's been a good winter, honestly.
Heck yeah, man. It's been a freaking cold, rainy winter, though, too, at the same time. The fishing's been good, but it has been, I mean, I don't think I've ever been so ready for spring in my life, and I feel like that kind of rings true up and down the coast for everybody.
Yeah, the rain has just been terrible. Non-stop rain.
Not just wet, but just how off color a lot of our water has been has made it super tough the last little bit too.
There's been like no time to catch up either. It's like as soon as that water starts to clean up, then it gets dirty again. Like the Cape Fear's been blown out for months, really. I mean, it's been fishable, but I talked to Christian Wolf today. He said it's absolute garbage down there.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine.
Did y'all see everything that went on with Texas with the cold snap down there and the big fish kill?
Yeah, I saw some of that. That was crazy. I saw the possum that was frozen on top of a fence. Did you see that? Mid climb, he was frozen with his mouth open, like.
That's got to be staged, man. There's no way that's real.
Yeah, maybe it was fake. Definitely fake.
It really is. I haven't gotten a full read. My buddy Caleb, I've actually had on the podcast a couple times. I just noticed he posted a video on his YouTube. It's Captain Caleb TV, kind of answering a lot of questions people had about that freeze. Because I mean, it killed hundreds of thousands. I don't know if that's a correct number, but I mean, all the videos I'm seeing, it's just belly up trout everywhere. It just got cold so quick, and those fish were shallow, and they weren't able to transition into deeper water. And so I think that really kind of is the killer for those fish. They can handle those colder temps if that temperature kind of drops slowly, but if it just cuts off real quick. I was nervous we were going to have a fish go here. I mean, some of the stuff I was fishing, I was seeing a lot of trout kind of laying on their sides a little bit. You could poke them with your fishing rod on the bottom, and they would be kind of just, you think they were just didn't see and weren't spooking, but they were barely hanging on. So one thing that I think is important to think about when it gets that cold, try not to idle over those fish and not really harass them or mess with them. I mean, because they're clinging on to life when you see them like that. But let's talk a little bit about kind of our fishing as of late. I mean, I know we've all kind of fished together around each other the past little bit. What have y'all been seeing? Kind of as how's y'all's fishing been the past couple weeks, past couple months? Anybody can go.
I'm going to say my fishing's been kind of, hit and miss here and there, so I haven't been able to stay, consistently on fish. But with the water being as clear as it has been, it's been easier to find some fish, but they've been super tough, super spooky. And then I think just in the last week, I got out Saturday, and my aunt and uncle are in from Montana, so me and my uncle hit the water for a few hours on Saturday, and the wind was blowing crazy, but the water temperature on my boat was saying like 44, 45, and today it was like back up to 55, and just that cold water had them like just shut down. So I think just that constant temperature swing and salinity swing, I think, has been just making it really tough. So I'm hoping though, with a few warm days, some sun out, everything should be getting back to some kind of consistency at least.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, that temperature is huge. You get some warm afternoons with a lower tide, and that water warms up, it's game on. But
Start floating
Yeah.
and get happy.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you can when the schools are still around. It's just that, getting them to eat when it's chilly like that, it's just tough.
Cameron,
But you
I
get those
think,
warmer afternoons.
sorry.
It's super fun. Go ahead.
No, for sure. Today was starting to see that as that water warmed up, those fish are getting fired up and getting a little snappier. This Saturday, man, I had a trip and I had a dad and his son. It got really cold. I mean, I literally ran from the parking lot and jumped on my feet and slid all the way down the wood on the dock to the flat part because it was completely frozen over. It was like probably one of the better sledding hills here in Wrightsville Beach. But
Oh God. What temperature were you measuring mostly?
I had 28 in the morning. when I
What
woke up.
about water? temperature?
My transducer went out again the other day. I'm still getting depth, but it's not giving me a water temperature reading. But we had live mud minnows. I mean, I had a 6-year-old kid and his dad. We had live mud minnows, and we're floating live mud minnows through a school of fish that was perfectly happy, not bumped by us, and they would not touch it. I mean, we probably had 75 casts through them. They would just hunker down on the bottom. That was the day I saw a lot of trout struggling. Cameron, I want to go ahead and apologize for the task that I have teamed you with. People are really taking off with this. If it's too much to keep up with on the Super Chat, guys, if Cameron can't be a part of the conversation because he's a big part of this Eastern Current group, then we will tally all these up and do the live giveaway, or we'll do the giveaway live on Instagram. Just so that, is it becoming overwhelming?
We'll see. I'm good for right now. I'm still listening.
Okay, sweet. Well, Cameron, do you need how's your fishing been the last little bit?
It's been good. I think it goes back to like what we've talked about in the past, which I think rings pretty true as far as like redfish are concerned, like generally staying in the same areas. Like I swear there's some schools of redfish that have been in the same areas for like months now.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, but it's kind of a double-edged sword because, they get found out about. We fish them quite a bit, and they get spookier and spookier either because more pressure, as well as the cold temperature. So they get harder and harder to fish, which isn't always a bad thing. I mean, it kind of pushes you as an angler, I feel like, to like figure out things that work. Like, for instance, the Ned rig, right? Was like not really something I ever would have thought to have fished until this year. So, and that's been something that I feel like has worked really well for winter fish, especially because it's something super light and kind of just work it on the bottom and just wiggle it so it just looks like some sort of crustacean or bait fish on the bottom that's just real slowly moving.
It's just so subtle. And you can sneak it in so quietly, too. That little Ned rig, you can throw it low and really sneak it in the water.
Yeah, I mean, this time of year, like Cameron's saying, that, the fish don't move much, and they're in big schools, so pressure has a big impact on them. So just being conscious of that. A lot of other people probably know about this fish, so just spending limited amount of time on one school, moving on to the next, and kind of dispersing your time throughout a bunch of different fish is key, not just for yourself, but for others as well. So it's just, when you're on a fish or on a school of fish, just trying to kind of, keep your distance and make those long casts and just not pressure those fish as much as possible. It's just can make a big difference.
It really can. It really can. It's this time of year. I like fishing this time of year, but I'm always so ready for it to be done because I feel bad, fishing the same 5 groups of fish for a couple months. Sometimes we got 10 groups, sometimes we got 2 groups, sometimes we got 12. I mean, it kind of varies what we see, and they kind of cycle in and out. You'll have your top 2 or 3 schools, it seems like. But man, I cannot wait for some summertime. Getting away, fishing smaller pods of fish, some singles, some belly crawlers, some tailing fish. It's gonna be sweet. Mr. Juan's World, who's a great supporter of our channel, he said, about how long do we have before the redfish schools break up? This is my first year, winter sticking inshore. So I think that's a good question we can kind of tackle. And there's a few factors. Anybody want to kind of take a stab at that one?
I'm gonna go ahead and say thank you for saying happy birthday to Scarlett. It's awesome. We're so happy she's here. So,
should we sing happy birthday real quick?
Do what?
Should we sing happy birthday real quick?
No, I think we're good on that one. But no, I think the water temperature has a lot to do with it. That consistent water temperature, once you start seeing it kind of, 65s and somewhere in there, upper 60s, that kind of seems to be, I won't say the cutoff, but that kind of seems when those fish, they might break apart a little bit for a day or two, and then if the water cools down, they'll kind of group back up. And then once we get like that consistently over 70s, I don't know if y'all guys see the same pattern, but kind of over 70s and stuff, they seem to really start to break up more once you get like a good warm week and the water stays that temperature or greater.
It becomes kind of a tough time to fish here too. Like when those fish do break up at first, at April maybe into early May, they kind of vanish a little bit for a while.
Yeah, those transition periods are tough.
Yeah.
It's because they just repattern. You got to figure out what they're doing all over again.
And they're kind of swimming zones and not sticking to anything in particular. We go from fish being so keyed in to staying in one small little zone to they're just, all of a sudden they're swimming large zones. Like you might bump into 50 fish one day in this creek, and the next day they might be at the other end of the creek hanging out in a whole different system. So that can be one of the tough things about this time of year. But yeah, I think we're going to see that transition. I think moon phase plays a little bit into it as well, but nothing like the water temperature does. That water temperature is kind of like the key factor of how it happens and what breaks them up a little bit. One other thing that I've noticed too is like even while they're still schooled up this time of year, you'll notice them starting to swim a little bit more spread out, if that makes sense. Yep. Like when it's real cold, they're pretty tight. Like a school of mullet almost, and they'll start to spread out. And I even saw that today on some fish. Schooling, but not all making the same turns, a little more spread out, kind of starting to get that pattern of not being one big fish, if you will.
I was going to say, today, the school of fish that we were on for a few hours, they would come in and, we set way back, and we might get a shot every 20 minutes or so at them. But definitely they would come up and make kind of the same turn, and then by this afternoon half the group would kind of go one way, half the group would go the other. They had 2-3 feet between them, but that water temperature got up upper 50s by that point, and it definitely changed their patterns a lot.
Yeah, for sure. It'll definitely change them up a good bit. The cool thing too is I just saw someone talk about Bonita in April. We started to have some nearshore stuff go on that time of year. You can spread out a little bit, and obviously that light tackle, that sight fishing stuff that we like to do shallow can be good, but it can be kind of tough at the same time. But we get the opportunity to break free a little bit. If we could just get away from this rain, man, it would just spread people out like crazy. Everyone's fishing the clean water right now instead of breaking away. So you getting a break in there, Cameron?
Yeah, just got a break.
Cameron, you've been tying a ton of flies lately. I know that this time of year fish can get kind of picky. Have you kind of found something that's been working better than anything else?
Sometimes I feel like I found one that works, and then I get back and I'm like, man, why aren't they eating it? But no, I think in general, and Jeff's, I'd say, is really good at this, is knowing which flies are good for which time of year. And from what I've learned over the years, I'd say in the winter, something that's going to land super light. And it's color, maybe it matters, but I'd say the tans generally work. Perry McDougald, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
I was chatting with him on Instagram, and he was like, we were talking about flies, and he had mentioned using just a straight black clouser, super simple, no flash, no nothing. And so I tied up a couple of those to try in the winter, and those have been working really good too. So I would say something that can still get down to the fish, but is going to land light, and is maybe a little more slender.
Yeah. I agree.
in profile.
And landing light's so key, man. Like today when it got real slicked out calm for a little bit and super clear water in one of the areas I was in, you'd land the fly freaking 10 feet out in front of the school, and if that fly line slapped the water even the lightest bit, you'd watch them kind of blow out of there a little bit. So,
and sometimes there's nothing you can do because Jeff and I were fishing at school in super clear water, and I think it was cold and they were spooky. And they were literally spooking on the fly line while it was in the air.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that.
Not even close to them. It was just in the air, arcing, and they would if they were 5 feet from being underneath it, they were already spooking. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and you could easily tell that those fish were spooking before the fly line had landed. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Dude, that's some frustrating fishing right there.
Yeah, that's pressured fish.
That's pressured fish for sure. Yeah, I mean, you'll see some schools, man. You can freaking bomb whatever you want right in the middle of them, and they'll eat it as soon as it hits the water. So,
right.
And I think the pressure weighs more on them too, in the colder months when they're already just in survival mode. I think they forget more when they're not in a big school, and when it's warmer, they kind of They just adapt a little bit better to pressure this time of year, when they're just so patterned. They just learn every little shell on the bottom, everything. So when anything's off or different, it freaks them out a little bit, I think.
Definitely. I mean, it's like, their metabolism's slowing down, and you got dolphins moving inshore, just feeding on them like crazy. So they're totally in survival mode.
Yeah.
As soon as, a coin drops, they're out of it.
I hated dolphins so much. I did burn a little bit of time this afternoon running back, though, because the dude's wife wanted to see some dolphins, and they were going nuts in the waterway. Probably eating trout. But I was like, hey, dolphins. I just saw a good question here. And you guys, there's a lot of questions coming in, so I'm going to I'll go back and answer all these questions. We'll all jump on here and answer them over just actual comments if we miss them. But I'm gonna read the ones that I kind of catch on to. And someone was just asking, I think it was Vincent Cashman, what would you say is a good year-round soft plastic? Do any of y'all have a soft plastic that you're pretty confident in, all seasons, all conditions?
Man,
that's a tough one.
Yeah, that is a tough one.
I don't want to say it. I don't fish it really ever, but the Gulp Shrimp.
The easy answer is Gulp Shrimp.
yeah. The Gulp Shrimp. Man, I don't know. I have to think about that for a second.
I think all around, maybe like a Gulp jerk shad, to be honest. And it just comes down to how you work it. Because in the winter, you can literally throw it out in front of a school, 5 feet in front of them, whichever the direction they're swimming, and not even move it. And they'll just pick it up off the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to just...
Everybody on here?
Definitely. All right,
I agree with you. Computer crashed. All right, we're live again. Is everybody still on here? Sorry, we crashed there. My computer overloaded. I knew this was going to happen. This is why I hate live streams, but we were able to just resume back onto here. Are y'all still looking on your phones? Is everything still up and good to go?
Yeah, it looks like it's back up.
The chats are good and coming through. Guys, I'm sorry about that. I have terrible luck with live streaming. So the nice thing about this Ecamm Live that I stream through is it's got the feature to just resume. So we're back on here. We're back live. They were still on Skype. What happened is my computer just straight up freaking crashed on me. So we should be good to go, though. But what were we talking about again? It shifted where everybody was when we came back on here, so now I'm throwing off where to look.
We were talking about best baits for the winter.
Okay.
And then I don't know if the stream crashed while we were talking about this, but someone had asked about when to start using topwater. Some of you were talking about that as well.
Oh, dude. Today we had in my afternoon trip, we were fishing some deeper water. I had some guys less experienced, and we were live bait fishing for a little bit and pitched out in front of a group of fish with a float and had one come up and try to eat the float.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, it's right around the corner. Right around the corner. God, we lost a lot of listeners. I hope everybody can hop back on here. We're live again. If you're in the chat, let me know in the chat real quick. Hey, we're good to go. Everybody can see what's going on. We're caught back up. But it seems like everything's flowing all right. But when do y'all like to start throwing topwater? When they start eating it?
Yeah, definitely when they start eating it. Honestly,
I love throwing it when they don't eat it, honestly.
When they slowly kind of start breaking up a little bit, or maybe not breaking up, but spacing out, kind of like you were saying, and they're still eating good, and they that water starts heating up a little bit, maybe beginning mid-March, I'd say. I mean, throw it anytime. If you find a good school this time of year, people will still catch fish on topwater. It just depends on how aggressive those fish are feeding.
I think that floating's a big factor.
Yeah,
being near the surface.
If those fish are up on the surface and that's kind of where their feeding zone is, then by all means throw a topwater. But you'll know pretty quickly whether it's going to work or not, because you're going to either see those fish all congregating right at it, or they're going to be blitzing away from it. So you'll know quickly.
Dude, some of those first topwater eats this spring when they're schooled up and you got like 12 fish chasing it down trying to smash it is so fun. It is so fun.
That's awesome.
What are some of y'all's topwaters y'all like throwing? Anything in specific? Cameron, you like the she dogs and the she pups and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I really like the she dog, at least in dirty water for sure. I like the she dog just because it's got a high pitch noise to it, or clack, and I've had good luck with that one.
Okay.
What's the one that we used a ton this summer, Jeff? That I feel like that might be my new favorite. I can't remember exactly what it was. Skitterwalk?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't know.
Were you ever using that little Yozuri a bunch? Was that you? Oh, never mind. Just made that up.
I use the Yozuri some this
You
year.
like the Yozuri?
I
That's
really
what
like
it
the Yozuri. It walks good. Sometimes it doesn't like, if the water's kind of choppy or something, like if I'm down in the river in a little bit bigger water, it doesn't walk as good as like a skitter walk or a spook, but I had really good luck on it, especially kind of tucked away in some of the bays. It's not as loud and noisy, so it seems to do pretty good.
Yeah, I've always liked the top dogs, the top dog and the top dog juniors, the mirror lures. They have like the glass ball in it, and I just feel like that resonates well.
Yeah.
But, it's whatever you got confidence in, really.
Playing around with pitch is a lot of times as important as color, man. Like, there's definitely times where, like, let's say us four are on the boat fishing together and we're throwing different topwaters. I mean, granted, sometimes it's just the first topwater of a fish, but you'll get a topwater through, and like, say Cameron's in the bow and Jeff's fishing behind him, that second bait through, sometimes we'll get him. I mean, I think pitch does have a good bit to do with it, or can have a good bit to do with it.
That and the cadence too,
yeah.
that pace, that pace in which you're twitching it. So.
Yeah. God, I'm ready for some of that.
I know.
Right?
I feel like cadence is a huge piece of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes, I have like a specific cadence that I usually do just when I'm throwing a topwater. But if I haven't gotten any bites yet, I just start, and I'm sure you guys do this too, you like slow down the cadence a couple of casts, throw it out again, no bites, speed up the cadence a couple of casts, and then you like, sometimes on a certain day they just want a certain cadence.
Yeah. Yeah, they really
I think
do.
a lot of that has to do with like looking at the mullet and how they're swimming down the grass lines. If they mullet are super active and just kind of jetting all over the place, I'll speed up a little bit. If they seem to be kind of just chill and kind of tucked up against the grass or something, I'll slow down more and just kind of see, what's going on with the bait around me and how they're acting.
Yeah.
If the pressure's just a little bit different, that makes the fish react a little bit different. And how they come up and want to eat and what they're looking at.
Yeah, I agree. It's it can definitely be. Sorry, I had another little warning pop up on my computer. This little cheap MacBook Air is not made for this much going on. I had another good question here too. I'm just kind of popping into these questions and looking at them. Do y'all have any advice for trout? This time of year they just don't want to eat, finding trout, switching lures and fishing speed, but fish just won't commit. So I think the big thing is water temperature for the trout. Fishing prefrontal too is key. It's really picking your days. So like we've got a couple warm days. If you know areas that trout are, like I'd say tomorrow, the next day, on through Friday, before it starts to get cold again, those like the 24 hours before it gets cold again, that's when you want to be fishing for those fish. I'd say mid to low tide this time of year too. Like as that warm water's falling off the flats, that water temperature is going to rise a little bit in those creeks, even just enough. So getting them on the warmest water you possibly can this time of year and fishing them, prefrontal is what I see. But are there any lures, any baits y'all have had luck on the wintertime trout, if not fishing bait?
Mirror lures.
Yeah, that suspending pause.
Suspending pause, just something that can work super slow.
Yeah.
I feel like when you get those, if you do like a jig head type of deal with like a trout trick, you have to move it too fast in order to keep it like off the bottom. And I feel like if you can keep something suspended in front of their face for a longer period of time, it increases your probability of getting a bite.
Yeah, I agree. That just letting it kind of sit in their face for a little bit.
Yeah.
I
will say,
sorry, what were you saying, Mike?
Oh no, you just said like mid-tide kind of falling. I think a lot of times when the trout get in that super low water, when we have like coming up on like a full moon or something with a really low tide, they just seem to kind of get real picky and kind of go into that survival mode when that water's super low, and they just don't like to eat, I feel like, too.
Yeah.
So I think picking that tide, picking the right tide has a lot to do with it. So, I mean, that's even the same thing for redfish. We target redfish on a lower tide just because we can see them so much better, see how they move. But a lot of times, I'll go on and sit, like today, we sat with the school, never pushed them for like the first hour, couldn't get a fish to eat. As soon as the tide kicked in and really started to flow just a little bit and start to move the algae and stuff on the bottom, they seem to just kind of cut on and start eating then, So.
Yeah. It seems like that incoming tide on these warmer days in the spring, sometimes that first little bit of the incoming can be so key. And man, honestly, like in the summer, a lot of the stuff that I like to fish for the really shallow redfish, they are the most active and the most aggressive and the most feeding at the beginning of that incoming tide. All those belly crawlers, low tide tailing fish, it's like that beginning of that low tide, beginning of the incoming. It seems to be, some of my best sight fishing typically, as far as aggressive fish and them actively hunting and feeding. I don't know if y'all have seen similar trends or not, but that's kind of what works for me.
I think so. I feel like because just slack tide is always like everything kind of dies, right?
Yeah.
And bait's not getting pushed anywhere, and then as soon as that tide starts coming in, it's like everything starts coming back to life. Redfish start kind of setting up for the bait swimming through, and I think that's super accurate.
Yeah.
I think the current kind of positions those fish a lot more, especially when it comes to trout, with the way they sit on the bottom and kind of use more of an ambush spot than the redfish kind of cruising around looking for food.
Yeah,
so
I agree. Just a reminder to you guys, if y'all do have any questions, we're trying to answer them here. Y'all can shoot them over in the comment section. One more quick little reminder about the raffle. If you super chat, for every $1 you super chat, it enters you to win. We've got a bunch of good stuff here. Some new reels from Penn, a bunch of iStrike stuff, some free goodies from, AFCO and Marshware. So definitely check that out. And thank y'all so much for your support. But I want to get into talking a little bit about someone who I had written on the Instagram story, kind of asking for some preloaded questions for this show. And a lot of stuff came in about talking about boats and the platforms that we fish off of, skiffs and bay boats and whatnot. And all of us, we fish a skiff for the most part. Like, that's the majority of the boat of what we're fishing on. Let's talk a little bit about what the platforms that we use and how that allows us to be more productive, how we like to fish them. Jeff, you want to take a crack at it first?
Sure, yeah. So I probably have the least nicest skiff out of all of us here, but it still is able to kind of get me out there and pull in some pretty shallow water. I've been looking around and trying to find a flats boat trying to upgrade a little bit here, but it's tough. It's tough to find a boat just because they're pricey skiffs. They're really, really pricey. It's not a cheap sport that we're in.
Yeah. And they're going for a lot right now too. Seller's market.
Yeah.
For sure.
It is. It is a seller's market. So it's tough to find those used boats, but man, it is tough. I really like. I've been looking at the Sabine skiffs a lot lately. They're made down in Texas. They're an all aluminum boat. I haven't ridden on one. I've talked to a few guys just through social media about them, and they swear by them. But everybody's gonna swear by their own boat. So
you got to talk to someone that has owned one, any boat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's owned it and has a different boat. Like, why do you have a different boat?
Yeah,
those are the guys
for
you
sure.
want to talk to.
Right. Those guys who had it, but they're like, oh man, if they say they loved it, but they switched. Why'd you switch? Kind of thing.
Right.
For sure. Definitely. Yeah, I don't know.
Those Sabines are sweet, man. I really like those. I just love the skiffer here, especially this time of year, because it allows you to get into those areas. And maybe we're saying too much about skiffs. We always complain about how many skiffs we see around now. So we shouldn't spread too much love about them. But it's an expensive, there's some cheaper boats, but you really do a lot of times get what you pay for in a skiff. I mean, there's little things that can change, but I mean, some holes what we talk about slide real bad when you're poling. Like, you can't really track and hold in an area very well. There's other boats that'll turn and pivot in 360 degrees without really moving much. Like, if there's not current or wind, you can kind of really spin that boat in one spot. But just being a nimble, quiet poling boat, like the fish that we're fishing this time of year, man, if you tried to fish them from a trolling motor, you would be scaring the crap out of them all the time. Like, you'll hit an oyster shell sometimes the wrong way with the push pole and freaking spook them. But
yeah,
it's we've all got a little bit different taste in what we fish, but I think the skiff is where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely having a technical poling skiff for the style of fishing we do is essential, and having something that gets shallow and also poles well is completely necessary. And there's definitely a reason why they're so expensive, because there's a lot of research and design that goes into them. And I mean, it's as small as they are, there's a lot of detail that goes into them. So I mean, as frustrating as it is, I get it.
Yeah. Perfect skiff layout. What would you get, Jeff? If it was all free and you could lay out one skiff exactly how you wanted it, boat, what would it be?
So like a particular brand.
Particular brand, double power poles, quad power poles, 2 trolling motors. How many graphs would you have on it?
I don't know. Maybe I'd get a $90,000 Chitum and sell it and buy 3 more.
All right, now you're literally hacking the system here.
I don't know.
One boat, you have to keep it for at least 5 years.
Man. The HPXS is probably the best fishing boat that I personally have fished on. Maybe the professionals up there too.
You don't have to try to flatter me, dude.
I don't know. No, that's true. It really is. I mean, that boat is as far as a boat that runs through the creeks, and just being able to turn on a dime and just doing that in shallow water. That boat's pretty impressive. It really is.
Yeah, it does well for that, for sure. It's part of the job is freaking getting people white knuckled under the gunnel and the holder on the side of the console running up a creek, especially this time of year when you can see the bottom and it's very close to the motor. Brings a little joy to my life.
I mean, I run the East Cape Fury, and I love it for what I do, but I have a little different use for my boat because it's more of like family layout. So it's still 18 feet. And it's technically a poling skiff, but it's designed for a little bigger water. I just like the fact that I'm still getting in 8 inches of water for most times. Like right now when we get a super low tide with a full moon, there's certain places I'm just not going. Jud will pull right by me in his, Maverick, but as far as when the wind picks up in the afternoons and you want to calm ride back, or you want to be able to carry all your gear and go to the sandbar and hang out with the family, or if you take a few friends out, it's kind of a good all-around skiff. There's certain things that it could do better, but at the same time, you lose on other stuff. So I think as much as you enjoy fishing or doing this type of fishing, find something that doesn't limit you to just this, because that was one of the things for me. I love doing this, but during the summer, I love drop the trolling motor and cast topwaters and catch redfish that way, or go beat the banks for flounder. And
For sure.
you know, I didn't want something that was only a technical polling skiff, you know, and that's all I could do. So having a little bigger boat that can carry the batteries, carry the trolling motor, all that kind of stuff, you know, it makes a huge difference for me to be able to fish year round and kind of not be stuck in one thing. I can get off the beach. I think that's a big thing for me. I love to go out and bonita fish and that kind of stuff. Yeah, you have to pick your weather day, but you don't have to worry when you go out the inlet, oh, I'm going to be, you know, stranded or whatever. If the wind kicks up a little bit, I can still make it back in. So,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
agree with that.
And you
Yeah.
you were kind of knocking your boat a little bit. Like your boat floats. I'd say the S does float a little bit shallower, but that Fury still floats shallow. I'd say
Yeah.
I get maybe you draft maybe an inch more than I do, inch and a half maybe. But I mean, 90% of the times, man, like that extra inch isn't a huge deal. But when it is, you know, it is.
you want it.
But you're way more
Yeah.
comfortable in the ocean. Albie fishing, going out there looking for a cobia or something. You're way more comfortable in that Fury than I am in my Maverick in the ocean. About freaking dump people
Yeah.
out of that thing when I do decide to slip out of there sometimes.
But I will say, like, running in the creeks and stuff, your boat, you jack plate all the way up, you take a turn, your boat stays exactly where, you know, it goes exactly where you want it to. My
Yeah,
boat,
it
I
does.
jack plate up, I start to trim up and got my trim tabs down. You take a sharp turn, you're gonna go sideways.
Little jet
Like,
ski
you
trail.
know what you're doing. And I learned that lesson almost the hard way. So, you know, it took me a little bit of figuring it out. And I think every boat, you know, rides a little different. So
Yeah.
definitely take your time when you start getting into these kind of skiffs and these kind of boats. You know, a John boat slides really bad. These boats, they'll slide, but they'll catch once you get in a certain position or whatever. So if y'all have any questions or anybody wants to hop on a boat, especially if you're looking at a Fury, let me know. I'd be more than happy to take you out for a little test ride. So
Heck yeah. Cameron, you've kind of got this the microest of the micros that we run. Your boat's a little bit smaller, but super cool layout. I know you were kind of nervous about 3 people on that at first, but man, it fishes 3 people great. I mean, you have a little bit less room than an S or like a professional, but it's still, you know, you can put two anglers on there, no problem. And a
Yeah,
guy.
two anglers is fine. The only I mean, just small complaints, I guess, is the gunnels are pretty narrow. So like in all the rods hang under the gunnels,
Yeah.
and when you walk on either side, if you have spinning rods, they get kicked a lot. But I mean, other than that, the boat has been great.
I love Cameron's boat. I fish on,
I do
fish
too.
on Cameron's. I fish on his boat quite a bit, and I mean, he's got a killer boat. It's an awesome platform.
Heck
The
yeah.
only thing I'll say about that boat is that one thing that made it from like a mediocre boat to like a really fun boat to ride around in was I had to get a custom prop.
Yeah, dude, that prop changed your life.
Yeah, I mean, it really did.
I
Like,
got one.
Yeah,
Changed
yeah.
Jeff's life too.
And
I copied him.
anyone listening who has like a skiff and has cavitation problems, so if you have a jack plate and you jack it all the way up and you're trying to run through a creek or whatever, and it sounds like your prop just starts hitting air. There's a guy in Texas, his name's Jack Foreman, and he makes killer props. I mean, absolutely unreal props. They have this like crazy cupping on them, so it really catches the water really well. And I mean, that completely changed the way my boat rode in shallow water.
Didn't you say you called him and you were like, I'm having prop issues, but I've got a beaver tail. And he's like, I know the exact prop. You need this pitch, blah blah blah, and like knew the prop,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's like, it's in the mail, like that.
Yeah,
quick.
Yeah. I mean, that dude.
He makes a lot of them because I guess the beaver tail, the model that I have, is pretty popular down in Texas. And
It's the mosquito, right? Beaver tail mosquito.
beaver tail mosquito, and the guys are having the same issues I was, and this guy has been making props forever and told them what the issues were, and so now he's just making tons of them for all these guys out of Texas, and it just, I mean, it absolutely changes the way the boat rides and how it performs. Is absolutely unreal.
Yeah,
It's pretty crazy. I mean, that boat, rode good before you got that prop, but I mean it runs substantially better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even on my boat, I run my boat with a foreman prop, and now I have the motor mounted as high as it can, and then the jack plate mounted as high as it can, and I just run it jacked up all the way, all the time.
Yeah.
And it just, the whole shot is way better, and it just runs just so much shallower. If I put that thing on its side, I mean, you can get in some pretty shallow water.
Yeah, I don't think there's a. Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
I honestly think I've never seen a boat run as shallow as Jeff's Mitzi when he got that new prop on. I mean, I swear we were running through water like 4 inches, and he was like turning on his side. I was like, holy.
Yeah, because it's got a 12-degree dead rise. It's got like that 12-degree dead rise all the way through from bow to stern. So if you put that thing on its side, it's still flat. Whereas a flat bottom in the back, it's kind of got an angle, so it digs a little bit.
Yeah.
So my boat will slide, but it's got like a flat surface area. So when it's angled just right, I mean that boat does get shallow when it's running. Does not pull the shallowest, but if you got it angled just right, slipping across a mud flat or a bar, it will get pretty shallow.
I think you got that thing running probably shallower than any other Mitzi out there, unless somebody else has done exactly what you've done. But that thing is freaking shallow. The thing's caught a lot of fish too. I get questions about boats and skiffs all the time. And it's really, the biggest thing is you just got to get out there and get on some. Someone in here was saying we should do like a skiff meetup. I've talked about that for a long time. Like, everybody with a skiff around here, let's go meet up at a sandbar and hang out for a little bit, and everyone can check out each other's boats and talk about their boats. It'd be cool to do. And kind of, do they do like a guide Olympics, I think, down in the Keys, where people get all their skiffs around. They'll run like a slalom course, then have like a poling race, and then have like a fly casting. It'd be kind of fun to do like some big party or something like that. But I always thought like Duck Island, that area we like to go hang out and camp at. Like, if you got 30 skiffs packed in there, bring somebody with like an amp and play some music, and bring a keg out there and have some beer or something, and hang out, have like a little skiff party. It'd be pretty fun.
That would be super fun. And some people said that I didn't say what boat I have. It's a beaver tail mosquito.
Mosquito is how you pronounce it, I think. Mosquito.
Probably one of the worst names they could have named a skiff. I don't know why they named it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
We just planned a trip to Disney World, and I was with Hannah and Zan. Hannah's my wife, and Zan's her sister. And I was talking about how I want to try to go fish Mosquito Lagoon while we were down there, and she started making all kinds of jokes about how it sounds like a terrible place to fish, super itchy. Are you itching to get down there and go fish? That's pretty funny. Probably shouldn't have shared that. It's really not relevant or important or really even all that funny, but it was one of those things where you needed to be there. So I'm gonna give back up to somebody else. But the Beavertail Mosquito, sweet little boat.
Hey, and Marcio, I saw you asked what the prop was. You can message me on Instagram if you want. But the guy's name is Jack Foreman, and I have his phone number, so I can send it to you if you want it.
Jack Foreman.
Yeah, Jack Foreman. Yeah, you can look him up on Microskiff. He's all over Microskiff forums. Everybody talks about him. You could probably find his number on there if you're not able to get it anywhere else.
But
and that's also.
Go ahead.
That's a great resource too. If you're looking at a skiff or thinking about it, whatever, get on Microskiff. And a lot of the people, if they're pretty new, post on there, are really good about giving information and feedback. If you're looking for something particular or just have general questions on a particular boat, so you will get a lot of opinions that may not always be true. So you may have to weed through some stuff, but it'll be at least a good starting point to give you an idea of kind of which directions you want to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Depending on what you're looking for.
You get a lot of honest feedback on there, for sure.
Yeah.
That and the whole truth.
Yeah, the whole truth is solid. All right, so let's jump into, we'll change the track here a little bit and talk about bay boats. Now, we don't all run bay boats, but everybody wants a bay boat and a skiff, or larger boats. So let's start at the top with Mike and kind of go through. All right, if you're gonna go buy a bay boat tomorrow, what would you get and why?
Ooh, that's a tough one. What are we looking for in a bay boat?
Exactly what you want.
See, I think when it comes to a bay boat, for me, I would rather have something that's either kind of like your Jones Brothers Cape Fisherman, where I can get out off the beach and kind of do that near shore thing, but also on a nice day be able to get out a little bit. There's a ton of fish accessible in, the surf zone and that you can fish from a boat.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the fishing that I do is around creek mouths and that kind of stuff. So you don't need a super shallow boat in the off season to be able to really get back. You can fish a lot of creek mouths and catch trout, drum, flounder, that kind of stuff when it starts getting into the fall time. And, a boat like that or the Pathfinder, any of those that are trying to kind of draft in that 12 to 14 inch range, will do exactly what you want.
Yeah, for sure.
For that time of year. And even during the summer, you can get out off the beach and go near shore, catch redfish on the jetty, cobia, whatever,
Yeah. All right, so you can only have either a power pole or a trolling motor. Which would it be?
Trolling motor.
Trolling motor?
Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah, definitely trolling motor.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Trolling motor just makes the boat so much more efficient and
Especially on a bay boat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Especially on a bay boat. I mean, it's almost like, even whether you're fishing inshore or near shore, it's so essential to be able to go hit that, spot lock on a particular spot near shore and hit it and kind of slowly move over a wreck or some bottom structure. It's
a game
pretty
changer.
Essential.
It's definitely a game changer.
Near shore that power pole is not going to work too well.
Dude, they're making a 90-footer now. Have you seen it?
Yeah, sure they are.
You can power pole down the edge of the Gulf Stream.
Oh yeah.
What about y'all? Bay boat choice.
Oh man, if money wasn't an issue, or just if money is
Money
an
ain't an issue, man. Money's not an issue.
Oh man.
If money's an
I don't
issue,
know.
Cameron, call me after this. I can help you out, man.
Money's an issue first, and then money's not an issue second.
Money. Okay.
Budget boat, blow it out boat.
So yeah, like reality and then fantasy.
I'd probably have to go I've never even been on one, but I just love the way yellowfins look.
Oh, you're a yellowfin freak.
So wait, this is your fantasy or this is your not fantasy?
This is my fantasy.
I was about to say, if that's your not fantasy, then man, I can't wait to hear your
yeah,
fantasy.
you're supposed to do not fantasy.
But no, realistically, even if money wasn't an issue, I really like the Paramarines that have come out, the 24.
Yeah.
I'd probably get a half tower on it.
Yeah.
And maybe just like a single 300 on the back. And the 24 Explorer Andress is
sick boat.
really slick looking boat. And I'd probably get that with a half tower too, because if I had something like that, I'd probably use it mostly for false albacore, cobia when they actually ever show up.
Bull drum.
Big drum. Maybe take it up to the Chesapeake, do some actual cobia fishing.
Where you gotta go now?
Go to or late winter or late season grouper fishing when you can get them 20 miles off. Stuff like that. I probably wouldn't use it too much for inshore.
Yeah.
Unless I just had a ton of people that wanted to go trout fishing or something, and you could still stick to
For sure.
somewhat deep water and stuff like that.
Yeah, those Paramarines are sweet. That the Andros I think would be mine for sure. The 24 Andros, and that was the plan for a little bit, and then it became a fantasy boat for a little while instead of a reality boat. And got that used Pathfinder, but I'm loving that Pathfinder, man. I think I'm gonna get a little 4 or 5 foot bow casting tower, 2-man tower, to strap onto the bow and take off, and that'll be the sight fishing machine for redfish. Be able to pop 2 people up there, hop up there with a client, and fish from that will be a game changer. I mean, you're still, like you said, you can get to a lot of fish in 12 inches of water. I was trolling motoring that Pathfinder the other day, sight fishing off the bow of the Pathfinder in 12 inches of water to redfish. And it was doing it. I mean, the problem with that is all of a sudden you nick bottom and you're on fish. That's where your trouble comes. You bump the bottom once or twice, you're gonna spook fish. And then running the trolling motor again this time of year is a little spooky. But in the summer, man, you can get up on fish real close to the trolling motor without spooking them. It's the winter time when they get kind of tough. But yeah, that 22 Pathfinder TRS has been a sweet little rig. I'm stoked on it. Too much power on the back for me. That 25 or 250 SHO is a little too quick for my taste. But
This thing hauls butt.
it hauls butt. What about you, GF?
I don't know, man. I definitely like the new Seahawks, the Paramarines. Those things are badass little boats. I've been fortunate enough to steal my pops and my brother's Seacraft this past year, and have been fishing off that near shore and doing some albie fishing on that, and that thing's been pretty awesome as far as being able to get through some snot when the wind picks up and the albies are running. It's definitely a fun boat to fish off. The thing just cuts through some chop.
Heck yeah.
I know Cameron's fished on it with me
Dude,
a
that
couple
thing
times. That thing, yeah. I mean,
it rides so smooth even when it's pretty snotty.
I mean, it's got a 175 Zook on it, and I mean, it'll be like 4 foot chop, and you could almost pin it down and cut through it without banging. It's got a pretty big deep dead rise, and it's somewhat heavy. It's just a good built boat.
I was out there albie fishing next to y'all this year in the Maycraft that buddies let me borrow, which is the exact same hole as my Jones Brothers, the exact same layout, rides the same way in chop and everything. Now, Jones is a little heavier. I think it actually is a little bit better in the chop, but the Maycraft is still a killer boat. But it was rough as crap, and I was having to literally idle from school to school, and y'all were out there just like just doing circles around me, hitting all the schools like on plane dry. You're like drinking a beer while you're running around, completely fine. I'm like sitting there like this.
You'll definitely get wet, but you're not gonna crack your back.
Right.
It's definitely a smooth ride. But besides that, I mean, maybe if I was gonna fish like inshore and do a bunch of inshore stuff, I'd maybe do like a bay rider or something like that, where where they just run super shallow.
Heck yeah, those bay riders are sick.
Yeah, and you can put 5 people on it and still get in like 8 inches of water. Those things are pretty sweet. I mean, I know the Wolves, I think, ride those bay riders down there, and their home is about as shallow as any area is.
Yeah.
And they ride those boats just fine.
They do great on them.
I know, right? It's wild. You see them coming to the boat ramp down there, and you're just like, what?
You're like dragging bottom on a skiff to get out, and they're just going right into the bay rider.
Stuck on the salmon.
Yeah, and they just pull up just fine. Like those guys are talented.
Dude, they are. They know where the prop ditches are for sure. The cool thing about that bay rider flat bottom, man, they've got a bunch of sizes, but it is like a freaking barge. I mean, it's a great family boat to take people over to the sandbar and hang out, but then you can still go float in 10 inches of water and sight fish redfish. And there's a dude in town that's got a bow casting platform on his, and he posts videos of him sight fishing redfish from his tower. The cool thing about those bow towers on boats, and I'm learning this coming from having a tower boat to not having a tower boat, and I don't have a bow tower yet, but I think I'm gonna get one built before the summer, is the ability to just pop it off and pop it on. You can take it off the boat, store it when you don't want it, get it out of the way. When you're trout fishing and want 4 guys on the boat casting at a bank, and then throw it back on there as soon as you want to go redfish. I mean, you're not going to be able to do that on the same trip, but before your trip, you can kind of figure out what you need to do. And that bay rider is just so stable. I mean, there's nothing more stable than a 24-foot flat bottom that's like 9 feet wide.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Well, one thing that I really wanted to get into here, and this might get heated, this might get a lot of comments, but I wanted to discuss kind of some of the issues that we're facing here in North Carolina. This is a 100th episode. Like, I love talking fishing. I love, hanging out and just kind of shooting the crap with y'all on here. But my whole heart behind this whole thing is conservation, really. I do it because it's good marketing for my guide business. I do it because I enjoy creating the content. But at the end of the day, like, I want to create successful anglers that have a voice for conservation and that want to get out there and see change in our fishery here in North Carolina. And we got a lot of listeners from all up and down the coast, but what a lot of people don't really put together is our trouts, our flounder, our redfish, they don't just live in North Carolina. Fish that we tag here get caught in South Carolina, they get caught in Virginia. A ton of our trout travel back and forth between Virginia and even Maryland and down to here and then down into South Carolina and Georgia and even into Florida. So we got a lot of crap going on here that our state still allows that we'd really like to see kind of changed. And I just wanted to kind of talk to y'all about what y'all seen here in the years that y'all been fishing, what y'all would like to see change, you know, some of the issues that we're facing, and just kind of discuss that. I don't know if anybody has an opening comment that they want to, or opening story, or opening anything that they want to go into. If not, I can, but I know we've all got stuff we want to talk about as far as this goes. And you guys, I did shave my beard off. I've seen that in the comments a couple times. Huge regrets before we get into this serious conversation. One of the biggest regrets of my life, for sure. I have not had a beard in about 8 years. And true story, I've been on a diet. I lost a good bit of weight, and I thought I'd maybe lost this double chin here, but I hadn't. That's why I shaved the beard off. The double chin is bigger and badder than ever, so I'm just hoping for this hair to grow back out as quickly as it possibly can, so I can trim it down and make myself look skinny again. So
did you go and surprise your baby like right after you did it? You know, kind of like go snuggle up next to him and then go shave real quick and then come right back to the baby, see if he recognized you?
He was asleep, but the next morning he looked at me like completely fine. Hannah was absolutely freaked out.
Wait, this is the best part about this story is his wife had never known him without a beard.
She's never seen me without at least like an 1.5 inch long beard.
So did you tell her you would shave it before you shaved it?
I was talking about it a little bit. I'd been thinking about it, you know, because I thought I was going to have a chiseled jawline again. And and so she was actually in the baby's bedroom feeding the baby, and I was in the hall bathroom. I was like, I'm doing it. And I'm like running the thing and just faking her out. Like I was just kind of trimming it down normally. And she came out and she's like, oh my gosh, I thought you had done it. And I was like, what, you don't want me to do it? And I just went, meow, and just took a big chunk out of the side. And then I finally shaved it all off. And she truly had to like leave the room I was in for a good 2 hours. She couldn't look at me. She was like, you're a different person. You're acting different. She did not like it. But now she can look at me again a little bit. So we're good.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
She even kissed me the other day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
I like it, man. You look good.
Thanks,
You
man.
look good. You look younger. It looks like you took 5 years off.
I look like a younger, fatter me. It's kind of how I think I look.
Come on.
Enough talking about my face, though. Let's talk about the face of our fishery. Jeff, what? I don't know why I keep going to you. For anybody have anything they want to kind of start this out with? And if you have any questions you want us to answer, let us know.
Oh man.
I mean, I feel like just from when me and Jud started fishing in college, I mean, me and you are going on friends for almost 10, 11 years now. It's crazy to think about that. But, you know, from when we started fishing then to fishing now, just the reduction in the amount of trout that we've seen. You know, we've had a few good years here and there, but it's just not staying consistently good every year anymore. I know, like, when we were in college, we had 3-4 years of good fishing, it seemed like, and then it just kind of slowly went down. Last year was a good year, and then this year it was kind of back down again. And then talking about redfish, tailors, me and you used to go and just hop in the skiff and go for an afternoon, and get 10, 15 shots. Now, you go work, an afternoon or whatever, and you might get 5 shots some days.
That would be a good day.
Definitely do it.
That would be a good day.
Yeah. And, it's like, where are fish going? What's happened to them? But, and flounder too, even back then in college, fishing for flounder, taking your mom out and going to catch a few flounder here and there in the afternoons, it wasn't hard to do, I guess I should say. And now it seems like you really got to put your time in. You got to search. You got to find them. So you can definitely tell there's a huge difference in the way our fishery fishes, the amount of fish that are here, and we can see it in just a short time. So
yeah, no, I agree, man. The tailing fishing, I mean, has taken a huge hit. That's not. I mean, I don't think the fish are being targeted there commercially. But the fish are pressured. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess a lot of guys sneak in there and they're putting those nets up close to those flats as they drain off. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah, they are. They're hit. I mean, you go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. You're good. I just we've seen. I mean, I know we talk about it all the time, Jeff, because you, me, and Mike, we used to all fish the flood tide years ago when we kind of got into the whole sight fishing, fly fishing thing. But I see way less. I mean, like you're saying, like we used to go in the grass and just pick a random flat that we've never pulled before, go pull it, and see 20 redfish on it. And now, I mean, there's some zones that are doing that, but the majority of it is pretty barren.
Yeah. I think they're hitting those drainage points. I see it a good bit while I'm fishing for tailors, right? You're running out of a flat and there's a gill net laying right across that drainage point, right where those fish kind of funnel in to get in and out of that grass flat. And I think that's probably part of the reason why the tailing fishing in certain areas is gotten really bad over the past years. It's just ridiculous, man. I mean, you can just go on and on about it. And the worst part about it is there's no policing of it, right? There are regulations to kind of help protect certain species of fish from gill nets, but there's no policing, right? When's the last time any one of us has ever been checked by, a wildlife officer?
Yeah. Just the survey people at the boat ramp is really all I get stopped by and talked to by.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and it's pretty rare.
Yeah,
it's pretty rare, and it's pretty rare in comparison to at least my experiences into some bordering states such as South Carolina and Virginia and Maryland, especially. I mean, I've been stopped on the water probably once in the past 5 years, whereas Maryland, I mean, I barely ever fish up here anymore, and it's like every other time I go fishing, I'm getting stopped by somebody.
Yeah.
It's just...
You can't... If you don't have anyone to enforce the rules and laws, they really don't exist. You know what I mean? Here's a question that I wanted to answer real quick. Caleb Hofer said, Jud, as a guide and someone who wants to represent the face of conservation on the North Carolina coast, how do you justify killing multiple limits of redfish and trout on your trips? And so that's a good question for me because I struggle with that a lot. I definitely love catch and release. I push catch and release on my trips. And everyone that I talk to, every client that I have on the boat, when they want to keep fish, I'm like, hey, we can definitely keep fish. Let's keep, what you're going to eat, what you think you're going to eat during the week. I mean, it's our resource to be able to go. Like, it belongs to the taxpayer, the person that's paying the taxes to the state. I mean, that's who owns that fishery. They are the people that should be allowed to go and harvest the fish to bring them home to eat. For me to profit as a guide, that's not an argument. I can't say that these fish need to be here so I can make more money in my guide business. My fight is that these fish need to be here in this water because it's a public resource for the taxpayer. Like the dad and his little boy need to be able to go out on the weekend and go catch some flounder and keep them. And I'm always fighting my clients and asking them, hey, let's keep 1 or 2 redfish and maybe a couple trout. And you just get guys, they're paying for the day on the water. I don't have a only catch and release policy on my boat because I just don't. I leave it up to the people, but I at least voice, what I think is important and the importance of conservation and sharing with them the views that I have about why it's important to keep fish in the water and let them make that decision themselves. I keep overall very few fish, for the amount of times that I'm actually on the water. I'd say 90% of the fish that I catch every year inshore are released. But it's a great teaching point, whether people want to keep fish or not. I mean, if they're members of our state or they bought a fishing license, they've got the right to harvest some fish. And a couple fish doesn't hurt. But where are, me keeping limits of trout every day of trout season is not something that I want to do. It's something that people want to do because they think they should be allowed to. If we managed our resource correctly and there was enough of those fish in the water, it wouldn't be an issue. But it's hard for me to tell a client that gets on the boat that starts catching 18-inch trout, 20-inch trout, that they can't keep them. It's hard. It's a hard battle. But I at least use it as a time to coach and teach. And so that's kind of my answer for that. But it's a great question. It really is. So I appreciate you asking that, Caleb. But yeah, so, we have a lot of issues here. And overfishing overall is a big issue. So I think as recreational anglers, we're responsible too. I saw down in Texas with the big fish kill they have. They're like pushing hard for a release, 2021 all release. Just release everything you catch this year. I like eating fish, but I don't care about eating fish all that much. I don't need to keep any fish personally. The amount of fish I keep personally is, me and my wife might eat fish 10 times a year, really. I should end that with a question. So, anybody else want to kind of take a stab at this?
Well, I'm just reading through some of the comments, trying to keep up with that and some of the questions. The gill netters they're an issue, but when they stay within their bounds, if they go and set a gill net and they catch flounder, but redfish are bycatch and they can't keep them all, that's a wasted resource because they're just getting thrown away. They're getting wasted. They're already dead. The same thing for trout. If they catch their limit and they've wrapped up, a school of 300 fish, they can only keep 100, let's say, on their boat or whatever the number is or poundage. They're throwing away a lot of resource. And I think that's, at least from like what I saw a lot of when I worked at the state, that's like the biggest thing that's really harming us with gill nets is they're indiscriminate. And it's not like gill nets are the end of the world. They are doing the majority of the harm, as far as being indiscriminate, not being able to decipher what you're catching and what you're keeping without wasting. And the same thing with shrimp trawls, and that's the biggest issue with shrimp trawls inshore is when you go out and you do a shrimp trawl and you catch 10 pounds of shrimp and 200 pounds of bycatch. Let's say they trawl for 45 minutes. The fish that gets picked up in the first 30 minutes of that, by the time they've been drugged for 45 minutes, they're all dead. And, and they're 3-4 inch juvenile fish that are growing up to replenish our stock, and they're not an option anymore. They're gone. So, it's not necessarily that commercial fishing is a bad thing. It's just the ways that we're going about it and just how wasteful and indiscriminate the way that we're doing it is. I feel like is a lot of. And I'm also seeing on here like recreational anglers are not or do you think recreational anglers are not contributing to this problem at all? Guys, that's a big one for each individual person that's going out and fishing. Like Jeff said, we're not getting checked a ton. There's not a ton of people out there policing it. So, if you go and you find 5 redfish and you keep 5, that one's on you to not, take care of the resource that you're given. The rules are there. The rules are put in place. There is a ton more recreational fishermen, but there is a lot of fish out there. It's definitely getting tougher, but, you've got to decide on your own, like Jud said, do you need to keep 1 redfish every time you go out? Do you need to keep 4 flounder every time you go out and you catch 4? Keep the one that you want for the week or whatever and eat it and release the rest of them.
Yeah.
So
I think a big thing, like, keep what you're going to eat that night. Like, that's a good way to check yourself. Like, if you can eat it, if you're going to take the time to clean it when you get home and eat it that night. A lot of people here are watching. They probably live on the coast. So this might not apply if you live in Raleigh and you come down for the weekend and fish for the weekend and then go home. But, if you live here on the coast and get to fish a couple times a week or even a couple times a month, and you want to do, a small part that you can, every fish you put back in the water is a fish that has a chance to stay in the water for us to catch again and to, repopulate the ocean with more baby fish. So that's kind of how I look at it, man. Every one that you do let go is important. But also, with every person you're on the boat with, like, taking that moment to share the importance of why you like to let the fish go. We're getting more and more to that point of where bass fishermen are, where they're like, oh, you just catch and release. But we're not there yet. So, Cameron, you got any wisdom to drop?
Y'all dropped a lot of wisdom. I'm just trying to take it in.
Learn you something?
No, I think a lot of us know what the problems are, right? We're one of the only states on the East Coast that still allows some of the commercial techniques that they use for commercial fishing, right? And some of them are destructive. Other states still have commercial fishing, and they seem to be doing all right. Take South Carolina, for instance, who now has like a fantastic fishery. A lot of it's because they changed the ways that they practice commercial fishing. I mean, by no means am I against commercial fishing, but I think there's, like Mike said, there's a lot more sophisticated, better ways to reduce the amount of bycatch and just wasted fish.
Yeah.
And definitely, I would say recreational anglers play a big part of it too. I mean, when the trout bite's really hot and everyone's going out and taking fish home, taking your limit and someone else's limit and two other people that you brought on limit home, like that's a pretty decent chunk of fish.
Yeah.
And but not super necessary. And I feel like I'm reiterating I feel like I'm summarizing everything.
No, you're bringing some points.
But
good points.
I mean, yeah, I would completely agree. If you're gonna take fish, just take what you need for that night. Like if you're anything like me and you put fish in the freezer, it's probably gonna stay in the freezer for a year.
Yeah.
And I've tried to like completely avoid doing that now. And I mean, everyone would much prefer fresh fish over fish that's been frozen for 6 months.
Yeah.
So I think we all play a part. I think there's better techniques that we can do in commercial fishing. I don't think it should go away. I just think there's better techniques. That's all.
Yeah. No, I agree for sure. Here's a comment that we can tackle as super chatted by the Cam Tam. It says, I think social media and the X-Man limits I'm trying to understand this question, has led to overfishing on the recreational side. Gill netting drives rec fishing greediness, unfortunately. I think that's true. Like, I've definitely talked to people whose mindset is like, you know, if I don't keep it, it's going to die in a gill net anyways. And maybe that's what you're talking about here. But, you know, we just got to get in this mindset of I don't know. There's no perfect answer here. There really is no perfect answer. But we are at a point in our resource, I feel like, that we need change. You know, I want everyone to have a job. I want everyone to be able to get out and enjoy the resource. But, you know, we've closed flounder down to a X amount of day season, and they're proposing you can only keep one per person, you know, this coming year. And I'm okay with these issues to get our fishery back and these answers to get our fishery back to where it needs to be. But, I mean, we should be the best flounder fishery in the country. North Carolina should be. And even with where we're at, we're still a darn good flounder fishery. And you know, 4 trout a person, you know, is 4 trout too many? Is it not enough? And 1 redfish, I mean, most other states are allowing 3 to 5 redfish. Not that we need to keep that many fish. I don't think we need to, but we are very depleted on our stocks of fish and need to see a change so that we can all benefit from it, you know, in the long run, and so that our kids can get out there. And I'm just like y'all. I'm not sitting here trying to be against commercial fishermen. I go to the fish house all the time and buy fish and shrimp and stuff like that. But just we're getting too effective and taking too much out of the water for what's actually being replenished back. That number is dwindling as opposed to growing. If we manage it correctly, we should be able to harvest them commercially and recreationally and have a growing stock number. And that's not what we have. And that's what I want to see change. You know, at the end of the day, that's really what I want to see change.
Yeah.
So, do we have any other good questions coming in here? What's the reason behind the state not doing... What were you saying, Mike?
I was just going to say, guys, one thing to think about, too, for our listeners is we're shutting down a flounder fishery this year. Don't think that next year it's going to be solved. You know, what we're doing now isn't something that we're going to see results on for probably at least 3 to 4 years. You know, this year we had a really good flounder stock. They made it to, you know, their time of year to be able to mate and spawn those fish. You know, next year they're going to be 1 to 2 inches long. The next year, you know, or they might get up to 4 to 6 inches long next year. The next year, you know, they're going to start getting into that 10 to 12, 14-inch range. But it's really going to be 3 years from now before we really see that wave of fish, you know, start coming into our keeper limit size of 15 inches or better. So, you know, it's kind of put away today for what can come tomorrow. Idea of looking at it. So, you know, yeah, it sucks this year, but if we take the hit now, we take the hit again, maybe next year, maybe for the next 3 or 4 years, then, in 3 to 4 years, we're going to, from this year and the next year and whatever, the stock being able to grow as much as it does, and then that many more fish to spawn, is really going to be, sorry, will really be able to make a huge difference then. So, this is something that we've definitely got to start thinking about now to make the difference, where we can see it here in a few years.
Yeah, most definitely. It's a long game kind of deal. It's like investing.
Yeah.
Real estate. We're trying to do the right things now so that in the future it's not, completely destroyed from what it is now. I mean, it's we've got some awesome fishing here, but to know it could be better and to know it's not a healthy, stable resource is tough. We want to see that change here. Is there anything else? Oh, one thing too is if you go follow, and there's a lot, North Carolina, there's a lot of back and forth on people like CCA, they don't like CCA. They're, in my opinion, they're every day they're out there fighting for the resource. There's no reason that we shouldn't back them. But they're on their Instagram page. You can click on their link tree in their bio, and it's going to always have the updated web links to where you can go submit your public comment. We've got a public hearing in North Carolina, the 25th and 26th, that you can listen to. They're going to talk about some of the issues that we're going to be there, that the board is going to be, voting on for this year. It's just the hard thing is some people are like, what can I do? How can I make a difference? What can I change? It's hard to kind of know when these meetings are or what to do. So at CCA, through their link tree deal in their bio of their Instagram, they're going to have all those websites and stuff that you need to go check out and kind of keep you updated there. So go follow them on Instagram. It's CCANC on Instagram, and they'll keep you updated. But even on these public hearings that we're going to have, I think we have 4 a year. Write in if you're a South Carolina angler, if you're a Georgia angler, if you're a Virginia angler, because these fish migrate between everyone's water. And so what we're doing here affects what you're seeing up there. It affects what you're seeing down south. It's just important to be vocal no matter where you are. So I think that's my kind of little spiel on this. I'm going to remind y'all one more time, if you do want to have a chance to win some of the giveaway stuff, you can just super chat every dollar that you super chat. It gives you one chance to, each dollar is one entry in your chances to win some of the awesome giveaway stuff. We're going to go over that at the end and give that stuff away at the end of this broadcast. But I was trying to look back into some of the fishing questions so we can maybe end on a positive note. Was there anything, what are y'all most looking forward to kind of going into the spring here, kind of, transitioning out of these colder temps into some warmer ones, fishing-wise?
Before we switch over to that, sorry.
Oh yeah,
There's one question.
Mike was a marine biology major, so he's the man to talk to here. Worked for
Vincent
Marine Fisheries.
Cashman. He said in Florida, flounder limits are going from 10 to 5, and minimum size is going to 14 inches from 10 inches. Looking at size limits and the amount of fish that you can keep. If you think about a fish population, it's managed starting out at year 0, or when the fish are born the first year. That's when you're going to have the most fish. They haven't been susceptible to predation, people catching them, all of that kind of stuff. And then every year you expect to see a certain amount of drop, whether it's 20%, 30%, whatever, just through natural loss of fish. So if you look at some of our state is 18 to 27 inches, and we can keep one fish. I know South Carolina, I don't know if it still is, but it used to be, I think it was like 15 or 16 to 22, but you could keep 2 fish. And that's just because that size class of fish, being that you're catching them earlier and they're a little smaller, there's more of those fish because we haven't lost as many of those fish due to predation, natural causes, that kind of stuff. So the fish stock is bigger for those smaller fish. So looking at some of the states and their different regulations, hopefully that'll shed a little bit of light on how to think about them, because every year you're starting back over at ground zero for that group of fish, even though they're eventually going to be added to your keeper stock or your spawning stock down the road. Every year class starting at 0, then you are 100%, let's say, and then you're losing 20% every year. from there. So, and that's kind of how they pick size limits and how many you can keep per day.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah,
but
it's kind of nice to know how all these decisions and factors are figured out. You know what I mean? Because some people are like, "What the heck? They're closing flounder season, or they're closing the ability to be able to keep flounder and giving us a season." You know, so being able to have a resource in which you can learn this stuff better, I think is something we as a state need to do better. You know, like if people want to have a question answered about like why is flounder closed, like what can I see the studies? You can. It's just hard to get your hands on all that stuff. So definitely, we lost a good, really good resource here. Was Wyatt from Salt Strong, and man, he lived up here for a couple of years working for Salt Strong, but was just fighting the good fight as far as conserving the resource, not fighting for recreational or commercial or anything like that, but just a good voice for conserving the resource. And yeah, I just saw him on the chat, so I wanted to give him a shout out and say thank you for that. You need to keep fighting for us from Texas as well. And it's you got your own issues now with all your thousands of trout killed, but you can still give us a little love when you can. But yeah, so I just saw a good. Anybody else have anything in that realm that you want to talk about before we move out of that? No.
We could go about this for hours.
We could go about it. I think we should maybe we'll do a live stream question and answer sometime just about this. I wanted to touch on it because I really wanted to talk about the public hearing. And so you can get the link to the public hearing on the CCA NC Instagram as well. And that'll be, do y'all remember the time that it's going to be?
I think it's I think it's in the morning.
It's in the morning? Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, I guess because they used to do the public hearing when you went in person in the evenings, but now they're probably doing it in the morning.
Yeah, but tell them what you said that they had received the most.
Oh yeah, Caleb, hit this up in the comments. You texted me while I was on the water. I forgot to text you back, but you sent me about like something about the most public entries that they've had the whole time that they've been doing these online public hearings. So share that in the comments, then I can share it out loud here on the page. But that was really cool to see and very, very encouraging. People want to see change and everyone wants to do their part, and to have the ability to go and write in these public comments has been pretty sweet. And to see the sharing and the posting online has been really cool as well. So if you don't mind sharing that, Caleb, I'll throw that out on here. But I had a question here, and I'll jump back into that when he gives that to me. But Jack Sherman, I think this will be a great way because this will be another freaking rabbit hole that we can go down. But he said, do you guys have any crazy / spooky / wild fishing stories we need to hear? And I think we've got a couple of those stories. Does anything come to mind for any of y'all just to get this one rolling? Pondering.
Speaking of,
go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, I think the first time me and Jud went to Louisiana, like they just had a deep freeze down there right now. Like the first trip we went down, the first fish we saw, Jud casted a fly at it, and the fly just said tink. I'm like, what in the heck? And there was
that was me because I always tell the story that you were the one casting.
Maybe I was. I don't remember. I just know it was wild. Like they're like, oh, we've never seen temperatures this cold in 10 or 15 years. And then when we got down there, I think it was 8 degrees when we left from here and headed down there. I think it was like maybe 30 degrees that morning when we got out on the water. But yeah, like the fly just hit ice and redfish just kind of spooked, and we had to go find another pond that didn't have ice down the bank so we could be able to fish. Then like a few days later, it was like 55 and foggy as all get out. We had no GPS or anything on the boat, so we had a handheld GPS and used that to go like 15 miles from the boat ramp out into the marsh and just wandered around. Found fish, had a great trip, but definitely just like crazy weather swings and everything else while we were down there made it tough, but a lot of fun.
That was nutty. When I took you back down there the other year too, this is kind of funny. We ran out to an outer island chain that I will not share the name of because somebody will stab me. But we had somehow had the right weather. Me and Mike were able to make this like 40-mile run in a flat skiff. You got to bring extra gas and get out to this area, and it is just bull redfish schools floating everywhere. I mean, absolutely everywhere. And I'm running the trolling motor in like 30 feet of water, just out in the middle of nowhere, near no shoreline or anything. And it was so calm, so you could see these schools waking all around, just floating on the surface. And I tied a popper on for Michael and just made him keep catching fish. He's like, dude, I don't need to catch. I was like, you're never going to have this opportunity again. Just keep casting. And he'd cast and hook a fish and get it to the boat. And I'd pop it off, like, throw in there again. And just made him keep catching him and keep catching him and keep catching him. That was a fun day. Just floating out in the middle of nowhere watching freaking redfish smash poppers. God, there's some crazy. I got some good stories from Louisiana. But Jeff, or Cameron, were you about to share something?
Nah, I can't remember what I was going to share. Go ahead, Jeff. Let's hear yours.
I don't know if I have anything off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't know.
Didn't you break down in Louisiana one time you came down to visit and had to get towed in?
Yes.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, I sure did. We were day, I can't remember, maybe day 3 out of 6 or so. And for those who have not fished Louisiana, it's a pretty far run to get out to those, Louisiana's kind of shaped like a boot. You're running out to the tip of the boot where those outer islands are. And it's a good, I'd say, I don't know, Jud, what would you say, maybe 15 miles or so until you kind of start getting out there?
That outer edge, 15 to 20, just depending on where you go.
Yeah, 15, 20 miles or so out to the outer edge, which is a pretty long bit for a small little... Yeah, it's a long run for a small skiff.
No cell phone service.
No cell phone service, and we didn't have a VHF or anything like that.
Classic.
Being real smart. And on our way in, we were running and just started hearing the kind of this knocking, like da-dunk, 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 just knocking from the engine. And sure enough, we just kind of broke down right on the edge, and we're sitting there like, oh man, this is not good. And sure enough, a dude came rolling past us in a skiff, and we waved him down. Some guys from Florida, and were super nice, and gave us a tow in and gave us a couple beers, and we just made it in all right because of them. Thanks to them if they're out there. But yeah, that was not a fun time.
I hope they're out there somewhere.
Yeah, I hope they're out there somewhere listening.
Dude, I broke down out there one time. We ran out first thing in the morning. We ran like 20 miles out to like some outside stuff. Broke down, or ran out there perfectly fine. Pulled down this one bank, had a couple shots at some fish, and I was gonna run out to this next little island, which was maybe like a mile away, and crank my motor, run about 50 yards, and it goes and just cuts out on me completely. Like start pumping the gas line, messing with all this different stuff, and the wind's blowing like 10 miles an hour straight at me. And I was way the frick away from any of the main channels or ditches that people run in and out of. And so the only thing I could see was an oyster boat. They drag for oysters there. And there was an oyster boat probably 3 miles away from me that I could see dragging for oysters in this little area. So I started running my trolling motor at like 10 and ran it. I hadn't charged it. I don't use it down there a ton, and so it lasted me probably 15 minutes going towards them, and then that died. And then at that point, I swear the wind, I don't know, maybe I'm just making it up, it was blowing harder, and I had to pull like 2 miles straight in like 8 feet of water to this boat. And I finally got close enough as they were leaving to run the other way that somebody that was standing on the back of the boat saw me waving my arms. And they came over. I usually carry like a spot text deal out down there so I can text people from out there if I had an issue. That was not charged. And so they saw me, came over, hooked me up, and towed me in. And we were fine. They actually gave us some fresh oysters on the way back and hung out. But we only fished like 45 minutes that day and didn't get in until like 5 o'clock. But it was pretty brutal. Pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Cameron, you got anything?
I can't think of a scary, spooky story. If I have one, it'd probably have been with Jeff. I can think of a crazy story, though.
Let's hear the crazy story.
It's actually the time I can't remember, 2 summers ago. It's just a cool fishing story, but you, me, and Jeff had gone out and we had bottom fished with my dad. And we came in, we caught in a couple false albacore or whatever. We anchored up on a wreck, doing some more bottom fishing, and a wave is coming towards us, and all of a sudden, there's just this massive tiger shark swimming through the wave, and there's 2 cobia swimming on the back of it, and we're all like, "Oh, grab the bucktails, and we're all
Oh, that was a big old tiger.
yeah, big old tiger.
Oh yeah,
And,
that was tiger.
And so the shark disappears. We're like, all right, there's our one chance for the cobia. That shark's not coming back. And then I think Jeff had the bright idea to
Just
chop
blind
up.
cast.
No.
Okay.
You chopped up the false albacore that we had caught and tied it on a rope onto the cleat.
Yeah.
And like
I-
10 minutes later, all of a sudden this tiger shark just surfaces and bites the false albacore off the back of the boat, starts swimming away. This all happened in like 3 seconds. And somehow Judd has the wherewithal to grab one of the rods with
I think I
the
already had it
bucktail,
in my hand.
throw it over the tiger shark's back and hook one of the cobia. And I was like, what just happened? That was a pretty cool experience.
And then Jeff
Yeah.
just continues blind casting a jig and hooks a nice
And
cobia right off the side of the boat.
Yeah, there was 2. There was 2 cobias. There was one bigger one which you had caught, and there was one smaller one that was underneath the tiger too. And I was just blind casting in the direction which the tiger shark had like disappeared. And a couple minutes later, I hooked up on like what may have been that smaller cobia. I don't know.
And you were
Yeah,
like,
that was-
you sounded so surprised when you set the hook into something. Like you had completely convinced yourself you weren't going to catch anything.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I did not expect it.
Yeah,
That was a good story.
That was a good
That was
story.
a good. That was.
That was funny. Davis, my good buddy, said that this is a pretty good little story. I don't want to get into poop stories on the water because I don't want to share that about myself. I've got some crazy ones, but Davis just said I pooped off the side of my boat before I asked my now wife's father for permission to marry her, which is pretty good. I hope that helped, with the permission. I don't know if it helped or hurt, but. Yeah, I've got some crazy poop stories. Maybe that's a podcast of itself. But Caleb just wrote back with that stuff. He said, I work with a commissioner. He showed me all the comments they received today in a PDF format. It's 158 pages long, which is about 100 pages longer than anyone has ever seen. 99% of the comments were recreational guys voicing their disapproval of gill nets and the flounder split. And then he said, was nice seeing so many familiar faces in the comments like Tommy Mungo, Todd, and others. He was blown away and told me how much sway it has for the 2 guys that are always on the fence. Hopefully it helps, which is pretty awesome. 100 pages longer than normal comments, 99% recreational. Our voice does matter. Our voice unified like this, pushing for change, definitely. People listen to it. They've got to listen to it. And that's been, that's super cool. So I'm excited to see what they say, during the live comments or the live feed. So that'll be pretty sweet, pretty sweet. But I guess we're getting towards the end of this. I'm looking here. We're at an hour and 15 minutes, and and we had another 30 minutes before she crashed on us. So and people are starting to fizzle out of here. But I do want to. Is there anything else y'all want to touch on before we end this live stream? Do the giveaway? And I've got all this Z-Man stuff here. I can't give it all away, but I'm going to pick a bunch of packs and scroll through here in a second and just pick a comment. Not a super chatty comment, just a normal comment, and whoever I land on will get that. And I will do it showing the screens so that no one thinks that I'm lying about it. But anything else y'all want to kind of hit before we get done? Finish up? Y'all don't want to talk about anything. Y'all ready to go to bed?
I'm good.
Guys, let me know in the comments real quick now too if you did enjoy the live stream minus the crashing part. If you want to see more live stream stuff, let us know. This isn't something that we're going to be able to pull off every week, but maybe once a month or once every other month. It's fun to get on here and chat and just kind of hang out with y'all and do some giveaways as well, some raffles. But yeah, let me know if you like it, and we'll try to bring y'all some more. But I guess it's time to do a little giveaway action, huh? Little raffle action and a giveaway action. So the way this works, What were you saying?
I was gonna say I'm gonna head on and go help Ashley with the baby.
I
Thanks
hear
for all
that.
the love, guys, and for everybody tuning in. I'm gonna tune out, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Later. Good luck with the baby.
Mike.
All right, Michael. See you, Mike.
See y'all.
And he's gone now. All right. Sweet. So we've got us three left. Gonna have to readjust these camera angles now because it's way closer to my face. But I'm gonna pick. I'll pick 5 packs of Z-Man to give away to one person, and then we've also got the reels and everything. So the way this works, as far as the raffle goes, is every time you super chatted $1, for every $1 you super chatted, it's one raffle ticket. I got this idea from my buddy Alex Rudd, who's got an awesome YouTube channel, Bass Fishing. He lives over in Tennessee, so go check him out on YouTube if you want some cool bass fishing content. But we are going to, as y'all super chatted, Cameron entered everybody's name, on a Google sheet, which is like a spreadsheet document, that many times on the spreadsheet, and then there's a randomize button, so he's able to randomize it, and I'm gonna get. We'll get Jeff to pick some random numbers, and whatever number he picks, then we will scroll to that name, and Cameron will tell y'all who the winner is. So for the first giveaway, we're going to do the pin, or the first raffle prize, we're going to do the pin Clash 2. Were you able to get caught up on the super chat, Cameron?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Awesome. So, Jeff, what is our total number on the super chat?
It was
If you just scroll all the way down to the bottom of the spreadsheet on the left, it should give you that number, the last name.
474.
474, okay. So pick a random number, Jeff, for us, between 1 and 474.
312.
312.
312. That is Judy Brock.
That's my mom, so we can definitely not give her the real. So we'll pick another number.
69.
69.
All right. Who we got?
That's awesome. Sorry, Mom.
What, dude? Also Judy Brock. I am not freaking kidding you.
All right, pick another number.
Donate.
She donated $400, didn't she?
No, I think she did 20.
That's pretty funny. All right, next number. Jeff, you're a terrible number picker.
Jeff, you're bad at picking numbers. Go again.
Am I muted?
No, I can hear you.
72.
72.
72.
Judy Brock. I'm
Bob.
just kidding.
Bob Shepard.
Bob Shepard, you win the Pin Clash 2. Sorry, Mom. I'll get you some. If you need some more fishing gear, I'll get it for you myself. But Pin Clash 2, Bob Shepard. Hit us up on Instagram. Go to Jud Brock Fishing on Instagram and say, hey, I'm Bob Shepard. I won the Pin Clash 2. If you don't have Instagram, go over to Facebook and do it. And if you don't have that, go on my most recent YouTube video, not this one, and comment on there. But hopefully you have Instagram. You can go over there and do that. If not, I'll find you at Bob Shepard. I'm going to write these down too, just in case people don't get up with me. So, all right. The next reel we're going to do is the Pin Battle 3. This is a brand new reel. My buddy from Pin sent it to me, but it does not have a case. I will ship it in a box. So y'all never before used. But the Pin Battle 3, pretty sweet reel. Give us another number, Jeff.
15.
15.
15. Margaret Veneer?
Margaret Veneer. Viner.
Margaret Viner.
My mom just texted me and said, it's for a grandson. I'm just going to have to buy her a reel and give it to her. I'll buy you a reel, Mom, and I'll give it to you for a grandson. All right, so Bob Shepard was the first one?
Yeah.
All right, Bob Shepard, and then the Battle 3 is Margaret Veneer. All right, so the next... All right, there we go. Next one is going to be, let's do the Aftco knife and fluorocarbon leader material. Jeff, hit us with a number.
28.
Do you have four? How many numbers do you have? Keep picking. I guess it doesn't really matter. All right, 28.
You want to make it bigger?
Matt Crump.
Matt Crump. wins the AFCO gear. Give us a big number on this next one. We're gonna do
How big?
like
Well,
20,000.
you can get
Just
between
kidding.
1 through what?
and 474.
Wow, there's that many?
Yes.
Jeez, that was that many comments.
That many comments.
Wow. Okay. 361.
361.
361.
This was for the Marshware, right?
Paul Wright.
Paul Wright.
All right.
What's up, Paul? Thanks for tuning in. You win the Marshware hoodie. And again, get with me on Instagram, you guys, or if you've got my number. I know Paul's a little client of mine. You can text me. Some of the stuff I have, some of it is going to be shipped directly from the companies to you. So Paul Wright gets the Marshware. So we've got, what else do we have to give away? The Ice Strike. This is the kit and caboodle right here. This is what I'm stoked about. This is what I would want to win. So it's $250 worth of Ice Strike gear. It's every single jig they make, a couple of them, and then a t-shirt. So think long and hard about this number, Jeff. Who's going to win the big the big Ice Strike giveaway?
Big kitten caboodle.
245.
245. If it's Judy Brock again.
Is it? Wow, Bob Shepard.
Bob Shepard. He won twice. That is impressive.
You can't win twice.
Can you not? I didn't
against
state
the
that. I didn't state that rule before. How about we'll do this, Bob? In the comments, if you want to win twice, you can win twice. If you want to be nice and pick one item, and let us re-raffle one of the other ones, let us know in the comments, and we'll do that. I know you're on here. I just saw you comment, and you can be greedy. You won twice. You did the super chats, but if you want to give someone a chance to win one of these, you can. Let's hear what your answer is. We're waiting.
Greed.
Big greed. While we're waiting, what would y'all do if you had won, Cameron? And I shouldn't say this because I don't want to make Bob feel bad. He did the super chat. He won both of them.
I 100% would keep it.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
Bob said, "Heck yeah." I don't know if he means "Heck yeah, I want it."
Yeah, is it heck yeah, I want both, or heck yeah, I want to share the love?
Don't feel bad either way, Bob.
Everyone's saying, no pressure, Bob. We love you, Bob. And if you want to just keep one, let us know which one you want to keep, Bob. Bob. It's a fun name to say, man. What you would keep? You would choose greed, Mike? I mean, Cameron?
Oh man.
Keep it, Bob. Everyone's telling him to keep it. I thought we were going to get blown up. I thought people were going to say it was rigged.
I can't believe you got your mom. We got your mom twice in a row. That's wild.
That is why.
Bob won it. Random number generator next time.
Random number generator next time. You guys, I tried to do the best I could. Trying to read what he's saying. Give away $30 in iStrike. Oh, he wants us to give away $30 of the iStrike package. All right, so we'll split it up a little bit. We'll draw one more name and give away $30 of the iStrike. Bob, you're super cool. And you guys, I will definitely look into better ways for the raffles as far as the.
You don't like my numbers?
No, I like your number picking, but I think a random number generator would be better. I like that. And we'll do that next time because we can just put 1 to 473, and then people can't say we're cheating. We can show it to them on the phone. So next time we will do. So people said $1 per entry should be able to have a chance for each entry. So every $1 that you put in, that's how many times your name showed up in our spreadsheet. So you were entered that many times for every $1 that you put in. So I'm trying to do it as fair as I can. Any suggestions for the next raffle, definitely let me know. But we will use a random number generator on the next one. Bob is going to let us give away $30 of his iStrike package. Sorry, David iStrike, that you're going to have to ship 2 packages, but I love you and you love us. So, all right, Jeff, give us one more number, randomly generated in your head.
36.
36.
36. Who is it?
That was just the number on the television screen. So
David Vincenzo. David Vincenzo.
Can you spell it for me so I can write her down?
It's David and then Vincenzo.
David Vincenzo, 30 of eye strike. Boom, sweet. Well, guys, that was our first live stream on YouTube. As rough as it went, as good as it went. We hope you enjoyed it. You guys, like I said, hit me up if you did win something on Instagram. That's the best way, or Facebook, or on YouTube. But try to go over to Instagram if you have an Instagram. It's Jud Brock Fishing, and we will get things shipped out to you. Anything y'all want to leave them with, or y'all get?
Oh, we got Ian Fletcher said he'll contribute an NC Redfish hat from UPond Outdoors.
Oh, and I forgot, I got to do the Z-Man, so I'm glad Ian said something. Ian wants to give away a hat. We talked on Instagram earlier, so we'll do one more number, and then we'll pick a random comment, and I'll give the Z-Mans away. But Ian, we're going to pick... Hey, Ian, you pick a number here on the live chat, and we will we'll go with whatever that is. So between 1 and 473... I'm going to scroll through. I'm going to pick 5 packs of soft plastics and give them away. But I'm going to scroll through the comments here. We just glitched there a little bit. Scroll through the comments here and pick a random one. That's a super chat. Pick a random one. Another super chat. Go like this. Boom. All right. It is Romaine Fishing. He said yellowfin tuna at $8.53. So Romaine Fishing, you get 5 packs of Ice Strike, or 5 packs of Z-Man. Romane Fishing Z-Man. And then we'll go see what our boy let's see here. And guys, I'm trying to do everything as fair as I can. Try to get hooked up with a bunch of good free stuff to give away, so hopefully y'all are stoked on it. I hope everybody can win something one day on here. And I do really, really appreciate the super chats and y'all helping us out. We're going to keep bringing y'all awesome content this year. Let's see. Did our boy that wants to give away a hat give us a number?
He didn't give us a number.
You want me to give you a number?
Yeah, give me a number. I didn't see one.
It's a number. Give us a number.
32. 321. 321.
321. 321.
321.
You like the 30s. You were digging the 30s.
Is Josh Westcott.
Josh Westcott. Win a free hat.
Oh, Ian just responded. Sorry, Ian.
$294.
We
So Ian Fletcher, you guys get up with me and I'll get y'all connected with, or Josh, get up with me and I'll get you connected with Ian through Instagram to get that hat to you. And we did the Z-Man for Romaine Fishing, and I think that's it, you guys. Sorry this raffle was so rough. We're going to have a little more polish next time. I actually called my buddy Alex, who I stole this idea from, and then was picking his brain beforehand. He's a little more seamless than I was, so hopefully next time we've got it dialed in a little bit better. But you guys, thanks for tuning into this live chat, and we will see y'all next week. Later.
See you guys.